Welcome to the Imperial Brickz YouTube channel. It's Nixer here, and I have an ongoing series where I'm collecting all of the characters or minifigures featured in LEGO Star Wars: The Complete Saga video game. Previously, I posted an in-depth minifigure analysis on IG-88, and I did not make it in-depth enough, nor was I clear about the message I was trying to relay. So, inspired by this comment left on that video, I have decided to do better. Of course, if you enjoy this kind of content, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. The goal of this video is to show you the evidence I have that proves C-3PO, TC-14, and IG-88 are supposed to be chrome. If you're still unsure about IG-88's color, I recommend checking out my previous minifigure analysis video where we cleared up the misconception that IG-88 was white. Before we begin, I want to define a couple terms that I will use because I misused them in the past. Reflection is the act of reflecting or the state of being reflected, encompassing the physical return of energy from a surface. It should also be noted that basically everything around us reflects light to some degree. Of course, polished or smooth surfaces reflect more than rough or textured surfaces. If something has a mirrored finish, specular reflection is implied. This means that the light hitting the mirror is directed straight back where it came from, which is what allows you to see your own reflection when you look in your bathroom mirror. Normally, when light hits an object, for example your shirt, the light bounces off randomly in all directions, and this is known as light diffusion. In this context, the term chrome will be used to describe a material finish that appears to have the same properties as a mirror. This implies that you see your own reflection in it. This can be found on the now discontinued LEGO lightsaber hilts from the early 2000s. In this context refers to LEGO's metallic silver finish that they apply to many different parts, but is probably most commonly found on the lightsaber hilts found in modern Star Wars sets. Now that we have defined our terms, we may begin. With the right software, you can go into the game files and find the textures for each individual minifigure. Here you can see Boba Fett and notice the upper right section where you see the digital texture for the entire figure. Now, when we look at IG-88 here, you can see that all we get is a solid gray square, and that is not very helpful. However, there is another file that settles our case. So here it is, but what is it? This is a texture that is applied to IG-88 as well as C-3PO and TC-14, the only difference being that for C-3PO the texture has a gold color because that's the color it should be. The first thing that stands out in this texture is that it's oddly shaped like a cross on its side, but there's a reason for that. This is what a cube looks like when you lay it out flat. If you have ever tried making your own Minecraft texture pack, you know that each side of the blocks are edited in 2D, but in-game they are interpreted as the 3D shape that they are given by the code in the game. The same applies here in LEGO Star Wars: The Complete Saga with this cloud texture, except instead of making a cube like in Minecraft, the texture is fitted to the shape of the parts that make up the figure, in this case IG-88 or C-3PO or TC-14. So the texture is applied to the character in-game in an attempt to create the illusion that the surroundings are being reflected off the character just like they would in real life if the character were made of a polished metal. I am aware that in the movies IG-88 was not super polished, but my collection is based off the game, so this is not relevant. With this in mind, we can now take a look at these characters in-game. I quickly want to mention that due to how the game was ported to each specific console, hardware limitations, rendering and performance differences, screen resolutions, or even the type of screen, the characters won't always look the same. The obvious examples to compare would be the Nintendo DS version of the game to the one found on the PC, where in the Nintendo DS version, everything is very digital and low quality, while on the PC, because of the capabilities, the graphics are much higher quality. In general, the IG-88 texture is harder to see, and this is because the shapes he is made up of do not have large, smooth surfaces. On the protocol droids, it is much more obvious, and you can see here, especially on the C-3PO or TC-14, that the obvious fake mirrored effect is being created. Because I cannot upload this texture to a plastic minifigure, I believe the best way to accomplish the chrome look with a mirrored finish is to have the full figure be chrome. Yay! Of course, if you want to go with the official LEGO version, there is nothing wrong with that, but you can always get your own custom chrome IG-88 from imperialbrickz.com. What I will say though is that the metallic silver coating LEGO applies to create this drum lacquered silver look has a rough, almost matte texture to it that diffuses the light that hits it. Just like in-game, it's hard to see the reflections on IG-88 in real life, but you can see here on this part of the droid torso, it perfectly reflects the mold mark and part numbers seen. Something else to consider here would be uniformity. It must be acknowledged that all the figures for this collection will never all be one-to-one to the in-game versions. If you decided to go with the drum lacquer silver on IG-88, you may want the other two droids that share the same in-game properties to be the same in real life, but there is no way to get a drum lacquered version of either protocol droids. The only alternative would be to use the official classic C-3PO and try to find a custom TC-14. Although the parts exist for that figure, the printed torso does not exist from LEGO. That being said, this collection is of course my own, and when I talk about the compromises I make and why I make them, it is purely to share my thought process with all of you, not because you have to do what I do. I respect anyone who chooses the official IG-88 figure for their TCS collection because they are of the opinion that it looks better, but that doesn't mean it's more accurate. Final perspective I want to share is that I think it's more fun when you have to put in a little more effort to acquire the figs. Sure, you could easily go and buy the official IG-88 on Bricklink, but there's an abundance of them, so they aren't really special. The idea of going on Bricklink and being able to buy every single fig all on the same day is not exciting. Instant gratification isn't always good, and when you have to invest time and energy into acquiring something, it can be a lot of fun and it feels more rewarding when you actually get it. That's just me though. Hopefully you learned something or at least enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more, and go check out imperialbrickz.com for all your official LEGO Star Wars minifigure needs.